Welcome aboard, everybody, here to the Sports Talk Nation. Michael Cohen here with you, and we are going to talk about Week 2 in the National Football League. We are going to do all of our picks for this week. Now, let's just quickly look back at last week. Went 9-6-1 in my picks last week, so it was kind of a mixed bag, but that's what usually you would expect in Week 1. Really not too sure how things are going to play out, and boy, Week 1 was absolutely insane. We had the Packers with that great comeback. Aaron Rodgers going down with a knee injury. Looked like he may have been done for the year with the way the drama was building up going into the half as he was carted out to the locker room. But then he comes back and leads the Packers all the way back to a victory as they stun the Bears 24-23. You have that game. You have the great showing by the Jets. All of a sudden, the Jets look like world beaters after what they did to the Lions defensively, blowing them out 48-17. The Buccaneers, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, with the shock of the week. I never thought Ryan Fitzpatrick had it in him. Certainly not anymore anyway, as he lit up the New Orleans defense. I think of all the people who were expecting New Orleans to be a Super Bowl team this year, one thing a lot of people forgot was the fact that the Saints defense is and has always been horrible. They were horrible last week against Tampa Bay as the Buccaneers stole a game there, and the Browns didn't lose. That's right, the Browns didn't lose, but they didn't win either, as they ended up in a 21-all tie with the Steelers. So, crazy stuff going on in Week 1. So, what do we have in store for Week number 2? Now, before we get into the picks, remember, there was a game on Thursday night, and that was between the Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals took care of business 34-23. The Bengals jumped out fast in that game. They were up 28-7, and just held on for dear life as they won 34-23. Andy Dalton with 4 touchdowns, no picks. Not a good day for Joe Flacco, though. 55 passes, 376 on the docket, but still turned it over twice and was sacked 4 times. It was not a good day for the Ravens, as they're now 1-1, and the Bengals a surprising 2-0. So what surprises await us this week? Well, let's just dive right into this. Now, the first game I'm going to talk about is not a game that is going to be on a lot of people's radar because of the opponent for the Los Angeles Chargers this week, the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills are an absolute disaster. Now, they're going to start Josh Allen this week after the failure of Nathan Peterman last week in Baltimore against the aforementioned Ravens. So, what's going to change this time? Now, remember, last year, when Nathan Peterman started against the Chargers, he got destroyed through 5 picks. So I'm sure that was a big part of the decision-making here for Sean McDermott, looking back at what happened to Nathan Peterman last year against the Chargers, realizing that there's pressure to actually start this rookie quarterback, and now they're going to throw him into the mix on a bad football team that has a lot of problems, and they're going to go up against the Charger team that comes in here into Buffalo quite upset. Angry about what happened to them last week. They got smacked around by the Kansas City Chiefs last Sunday as they got off to a slow start to the Chargers at 0-1. So expect the Los Angeles Chargers to come in here and really put a licking to the Buffalo Bills in this game. Buffalo's got a lot of problems. A lot of people look at them as possibly the worst team in football right now, and I certainly agree with that. I think Rivers will have a solid day. I think the defense will get back on track, so I'm going to take the Chargers to smack around the Buffalo Bills 34-13. Okay, so now that we have that bad game out of the way, let's go to the better games. There are a lot of good games this week in the National Football League. Now, 2 of the games that I'm going to touch on here are 2 games that if I were to advise you as someone going out there to bet on these games, I would tell you not to bother with them. And those 2 games are the Chiefs-Steelers game and the Dolphins-Jets game. Now, let me explain. Let me just start off with the Chiefs and the Steelers. Now, you have the Chiefs coming in here at 1-0. They're riding high after that game they had against the Los Angeles Chargers last week. Patrick Mahomes was fantastic last week. He led the AFC in passing, 256 yards, an AFC best 9.5 yards per attempt, and a gaudy 127 passer rating in Week 1. So what could go wrong here for the Chiefs going into Pittsburgh against the Steelers team that ended up tying against the Browns last week? Still has no Le'Veon Bell because of his contract holdout. And now there's questions about whether Ben Roethlisberger will play in this game with a sore elbow. There is a chance, although not a great one, that backup Joshua Dobbs may end up playing in this game. I'm not going to bet on it, but a lot of people are going to come into this game thinking, man, Kansas City gets off to a 2-0 start. watch out. And I agree. If the Chiefs do go into Pittsburgh, win for the second straight week on the road, yeah, this is going to be a scary team moving forward throughout the course of this season. Now, at the same time, I caution people because last year, the Pittsburgh Steelers went into their game against the Kansas City Chiefs not playing great football, had just come off of a huge loss to the Jaguars in early October last year when they got smacked around 30-9. And a lot of people thought that the Steelers were kind of starting to show signs of decay, that they were going to start to come apart. Here they go into Kansas City against the Chiefs team at the time that was undefeated at 5-0, and what happened? The Steelers won that game 19-13. In fact, when you think about it, here's a rivalry that should be so much better than it really is in the AFC. Pittsburgh owns the Kansas City Chiefs. The Steelers have won 6 of their last 7 against the Kansas City Chiefs. And the last time Kansas City won a game in Pittsburgh, you got to go back to 1986. So yes, at some point Kansas City is going to get a win in Pittsburgh, you would have to imagine. But all these things, you have to keep in mind, they are stacked there against Kansas City going into this game. Now, yes, when you take a look on paper, Kansas City does look like the better team. They come in here, have a lot of questions surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I expect Big Ben to play in this game. I know he got beat up a little bit in that game last week against Cleveland, but I don't expect him to miss the game. James Conner. Now, I know a lot of people are saying, well, you have to have Le'Veon Bell back to make this Pittsburgh offense roll. I understand that from the standpoint that Bell is a guy who can also catch passes out of the backfield, is a good receiver and a great runner. But, man, you got to be impressed with what you saw from James Conner last week. 135 yards, 4.4 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. I know it's the Browns, but still, an impressive showing for him for the second-year player. I think this is a game that could be very tricky. Like I said, if it were me, if I were going to Atlantic City, I wouldn't be betting on this game at all. I would leave it alone. But I am going to take the Steelers in this game. I think Pittsburgh at home opener, they need a win. They want to get back on track after what should have been a loss last week to Cleveland and a disappointing start to the season. You get a Kansas City team in here that feeling pretty good about themselves. Second straight week on the road, not an easy thing to do on the NFL. So I will take Pittsburgh 26-17. They will pull away a little bit towards the end of the game. 26-17, I'm going to take Pittsburgh over the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, game number 3, and the other game that I would say to you, if you were a betting man, absolutely avoid, is the Jets-Miami game. Now, the reason it is because here come the Jets riding a huge emotional high from last week. You know, everyone went into that game against the Lions. A lot of people thought the Jets were going to lose that game. Some people thought the Jets were going to get smacked around a little bit. Rookie quarterback, no pass rusher. Defense had issues last year covering receivers. What will be the case this year? Really no running game to speak of. Offensive line has question marks. All those questions got thrown to the wayside last week for the Jets as they blew away the Lions 48-17. It was an impressive performance. Darnold was good. I don't think he was spectacular. I thought he was good. He was solid. Coming back from the interception, having the toughness to come back and play a good, solid football game, threw for 198 yards. Had a couple of beautiful touchdown passes, especially the big one down the sideline to Robbie Anderson. He looked good. The defense, though, won that game for the Jets last week, forcing 5 turnovers, 4 picks of Matthew Stafford. Yes, even Jamal Adams got into the mix, got his first pick of his career. So the Jets go into this game against their division rivals, the Miami Dolphins, feeling really good about themselves. How many times, think about it, folks, when the Jets and the Dolphins had to play each other, if the Jets were coming off of a huge win, they were almost guaranteed for a letdown against Miami. This, to me, I don't know what it is, but this just feels like a situation that could be a letdown for the Jets this week. Now, Miami played that bizarre game at home last week against Tennessee. The game went over 7 hours long just in time because of a couple of 2-hour rain delays. But still, Miami found a way to pull away and beat the Titans 27-20 to get their first win of the year. I'm not a big Dolphin guy. I'm not a big Ryan Tannehill guy. I know he played well last week. Still threw 2 picks in the game. What else is new? He is just too mistake-prone for words. I don't love their running game either, but when you have these divisional games between 2 teams that know each other pretty well, you have to be careful. I hope for the Jets' sake that they don't go into this game feeling too good about themselves. That's my concern for them. So I could see this game being back and forth, being very, very tight and very close. I wouldn't be shocked if it goes into overtime. And I'm going to take an upset here, folks. I'm going to take the Dolphins to win this game 29-23 in OT at the Jets, at the Meadowlands, for a bit of a stunner for New York. Minnesota and Green Bay. Great matchup again. It's the Vikings and the Packers. Of course, the Packers coming off of that emotional high last week with the heroic comeback by Aaron Rodgers coming out of the tunnel after the injury. And remember, last year, Aaron Rodgers got injured in that game against the Minnesota Vikings, and then, of course, that cost him almost the entire season, and it was really the turning point of the entire year. Because once, I believe the Packers were 4-2 going into that game, and I think both teams were 4-2, and once Rodgers went down, Minnesota took off, Packers went right downhill, and of course Minnesota went all the way to the NFC Championship game. Now, all the pressure, though, in this game is not, of course, on Aaron Rodgers. All the pressure in this game is going to be on Kirk Cousins. He is now entering, after a nice performance against the 49ers last week, he is now a part of the NFC North. He is going to get his first taste of the NFC North this week against Green Bay on the road. And there'll be a lot of pressure on him to go out there and deliver for this Minnesota team. The Vikings have a lot of talent. We know about all the talent they have defensively. They can get after the quarterback. They can force turnovers. They will keep Minnesota in this game. But can Kirk Cousins come up with a big play in a big spot? Because, you know, even though Rodgers is still banged up, he is going to make big plays in this game. And because of that, I have to take the home team. I have to stick with the Packers in this one. I'm taking Green Bay in another close game, 24-22, over the Minnesota Vikings. Now, perhaps the game of the week this week, the Jacksonville Jaguars and the New England Patriots. Patriots coming off of a 27-20 win over the Houston Texans last week in New England. The Jaguars coming off of a solid 20-15 win over the Giants last week on the road. Home opener here for the Jaguars, and you know there's going to be a real emotional high here for Jacksonville. Now, the big problem for them coming into this game is what is going to be the situation with their all-pro running back Leonard Fournette. Right now, he is listed as day-to-day, if not a game-time decision, because of the injury that he suffered last week against the Giants. Hasn't practiced this week. The team has listed him as questionable on the injury report because of the hamstring injury. So that is a problem right now. Now, yes, T.J. Yeldon is a good back. He ate up some chunky yards last week. He's not Leonard Fournette. If the Jaguars are going to control this football game against New England, they have got to have Leonard Fournette play in this game. So right now, this pick, I'm trying to make sure it's not influenced by the situation going on right now with Fournette. If Fournette plays, I would like the Jaguars' chances a little bit better than I do right now. But keep in mind, this is a revenge game for the Jaguars. Their defense, we know how good it is. The only question I have is, are the Jaguars going to get too high and too amped up for this football game against New England? We know the Patriots are going to be very even-keeled. They're going to be ready to go. This is a tricky game to call. It really is. I could go either way. Oh, I'm going to take the safe pick. I'm going to take New England to win this game 27-21. But I could certainly see Jacksonville winning this game. Again, Jaguars play good defense. If Fournette's healthy, that's going to be a game changer. If not, now you're asking Blake Bortles to do a little bit more. That could be a tough situation right now. But it is a home opener for the Jaguars. Man, I could definitely see the Jaguars winning this game. I really could. You know what? To hell with it. I'm taking the Jaguars. I'm changing my pick midstream. That's right, I did it. I'm changing my pick. I'm taking the Jaguars to find a way to beat the Patriots. It's an early season game. Why not? 27-21. Going to take the Jaguars over New England. Now, final game here for today. The New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. Both teams coming in at 0-1. Both teams desperate for a win. Man, both teams look bad. And I mean real bad in their season openers. Cowboys offense we knew there was going to be some problems, of course, with no real depth at wide receiver, issues on the offensive line. And it just shows. Dak Prescott did not look good at all last week. Was sacked 6 times. Ezekiel Elliott couldn't get started at all against the Carolina front seven. It was just a bad day. And now they're going to go up against the Giant defense that isn't great. I mean, it's still a work. I mean, it's not terrible, but it isn't as good as let's say Carolina. Man, this is, again, another very tough game to call. Now, when I look at this game, I just like the Giants' talent a little bit more coming into this one. There were moments in the Giants game last week that you liked. Saquon Barkley's big touchdown run being one of them. Odell Beckham looked great last week, 111 yards receiving. Didn't have a touchdown, but still looked good in his first game back. Expect Sterling Shepard to get involved a little bit more, Evan Ingram to get involved a little bit more. And for whatever reason, you think about this rivalry between these two teams. The Giants have, for whatever reason, always found ways to go into Dallas and find ways to get a win. They've always found ways to do that. Now, I know last year when they played each other in Dallas, it was not a lot of fun for Big Blue. I think the score was 16-3. I'll have to look that one up. It was not a fun day for the New York Giants against the Dallas Cowboys last season. Yeah, it was 19-3 in Dallas last year. But for the most part, the Giants have enjoyed success with Eli Manning as their quarterback going into Dallas. I could see that being the case here again. I have a lot of concerns with the Cowboys. I think they could be the worst team in this division. I will take the Giants' low-scoring football game. Will not be exciting at all. 17-14. I'm taking Big Blue. Now, for the rest of my picks, the first game you see there is the Monday night game between Seattle and Chicago. Man, the Bears played really well last week. I like what I saw from them. But I could see a bit of a letdown. I know Seattle has had its issues. They did lose last week, a close one in Denver. I'm going to say Seattle squeaks it out. I think this could be another frustrating loss for the Bears. 23-17. I mean, the Bears could still win this game, but I'll take Seattle 23-17. Houston and Tennessee. Marcus Mariota at home opener for the Titans. Deshaun Watson, his second game back from injury. He did not look good last week. I'll take the Titans 24-21. Saints and the Browns. Man, if you're the Cleveland Browns, this is the worst opponent you can get. You get an angry Saints team after coming off of your first non-loss in a long time. We'll come back to the loser column for Cleveland. 35-10, I'm going to take the Saints over the Cleveland Browns. NFC South battle, another good one. Falcons and the Panthers, and another really tight contest. I will take the Falcons at home. Now, the Falcons did not look good last week against Philadelphia. I understand that. Really, neither offense did a lot last week for Carolina or Atlanta, but I expect a little more fireworks this time. I will take the Falcons to get their first win and get evened up at 1-1, and they'll beat the Panthers 27-23. Eagles, I think, will take care of the Bucks. Bucks are going to come back, crashing back down to earth. 33-19 will take the Eagles. Andrew Luck back in his second start, now going into Washington, D.C. to take on Alex Smith. And you know what? The Redskins, as I said in the preseason primer on the NFC East, don't be shocked the Redskins get off to a good start on the year. And they're going to do that. They won last week against Arizona. I think they take care of the Colts this week, 24-20 to get to 2-0. San Francisco and Detroit, expect the 49ers to rebound a little bit. Tight one, I'll take the 49ers 16-13. Rams and the Cardinals. Oh man, when does Josh Rosen get his first start for the Cardinals? When's that going to happen? I have no idea. I'm sure Cardinal fans are counting the days. Yeah, Rams 37-10. And finally, I will take the Broncos to edge out a struggling Raiders team at home, 26-21. I think we'll start to see the old Chucky come back if the Raiders drop to 0-2. So those are my picks here, folks, for week number 2 in the National Football League. And again, remember to follow us on social media at OpenMicNJ on Twitter, Facebook.com/OpenMicProgram, and of course, like and subscribe right here to the Sports Talk Nation. We'll talk to you next time.